Lincoln and the Bardo, written by George Saunders, is a story about Willie Lincoln, or Abraham Lincoln's son, during the Civil War era, particularly his death of typhoid fever. During a dinner hosted by the president and his wife, their son is at the time very sick with typhoid fever and is nearly dying upstairs. When he finally passes and is buried in a marble cemetery, in Oak Hill Cemetery to be exact, he is then brought into this new sort of world, this sort of afterlife called the Bardo. And in Tibetan Buddhist philosophy, this Bardo is a state of consciousness that's sandwiched in between two different types of consciousness. So in Christian orthodoxy, you can think of it like a purgatory sort of place, sort of situation. So a Bardo is kind of between life and death, and basically it's about the journey of these people to accept that they've died. So basically the plot in a nutshell is that Abraham Lincoln has buried his son, but over time Abraham Lincoln goes to visit his son who's in a mausoleum so he can still have access to his body. And he often comes to the cemetery at night and cradles his son's dead body. And Willie Lincoln is actually conscious of this, even though he's not alive. He's actually a ghost of some sort, in a sense. And with the other spirits, they start to notice that Abraham Lincoln is coming and cradling his body, and they feel that this is powerful, and they start to have a lot of hope that maybe their family members will visit them. Most of the story is told in narrative, basically between three separate characters. One who committed suicide because his lover didn't accept him for who he was, another who died in a printing press accident, and another who died of a terrible disease. I believe it was cancer. And basically it's them bouncing off each other, dialogue throughout the novel, talking about Willie and his experience and their own experiences and their deaths and their regrets throughout life. Basically, the whole book is about accepting death and having regrets in their past, what there was their life. And basically, it's all about these ghosts that are in this cemetery trying to pass on into the afterlife, but they can't because they're trying to hold on to something, whether it be a family member or something they love that was in their previous life that they can't seem to let go. And that's what a lot of these spirits are still here for. A perfect example of this is one woman, Miss Beverly, has 3 daughters who she can't seem to let go of, and that's why she refuses to die in a sense, even though she has already died, but she hasn't passed on. And this theme is sort of the theme of, like, I guess, afterlife and sort of letting go. This theme of letting go is really pervasive throughout the novel, because the whole novel is really about people accepting their fate. And basically the whole novel is Willie Lincoln questioning whether he's really dead or not, and whether he should pass on once he's realized that he's died, or wait for his father to come again, which he doesn't know whether it will happen or not. And this book is actually really timely during the time, because it was written during the Civil War when a lot of people were dying and a lot of people would go away from their families, and their families would never see them for the last time. So it was basically, it had a lot of themes of death and of grief and of regret. And basically a critical review of this book is that I love how it was written, how there's not really a whole lot of like explanation by the author himself, but rather it's just dialogue between the characters, and that ends up creating a really like not hypnotic but very like sentimental effect, because they're basically talking about their own regrets, and they're talking about what they need to leave behind to move on to the afterlife, which is really like powerful for the reader. And I guess in my own life it would help me deal with like a lost loved one, just knowing that there's so many things to grapple with death and everything. Another thing I really liked about the book was that it had a really somber ending. It really did not end happily, but I mean, I was expecting that. Basically, he kind of accepts his death, and I guess they all kind of move on in their own separate ways. They take their time, but I guess it sort of gives off this theme of finality, how we all have to get to our own destination. We can't be stuck in this like purgatory limbo sort of place. And I really like how Saunders used all these different experiences to convey that point. And the way it was written in Old English and with only dialogue was very unique. And I like how Saunders used that style. Overall, it was a fantastic book, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants to read it.